Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while. It's always been a while when I come back because life has just been lifing, and not in a bad way. We actually just bought our first house. So I have been in the last month moving, packing, unpacking. We got a new puppy. Baby girl Fawn, she's napping right now, so that's another thing. I've been having a hard time finding the right time to film between the construction going on at my new place and then working around Fawn's sleep schedule and just my own tiredness and the busyness. Anyway, we're here. So, elephant in the room. Last month, I did not upload my monthly reading wrap-up. Last 2 months, actually. So this is gonna be the last 2 months worth of books that I've read. And I'm really excited to get into all of my thoughts on these books. I did read 3 books each month, so we're gonna go over 6 books in this video. And then hopefully I will be caught up and my schedule can get more regular, which I literally feel like I've been saying since the start of the year. I'm just perpetually late with posting these videos because I still have to post my June TBR, which there it is. I got a new TBR cart. And if you can see all of those stickers on the floor, I am just dying to put stickers on each tier. So that's gonna be the next video that I film. So stay tuned for that. So let's just get into it. We are gonna start off going over, bro. If you can hear the construction going on outside, no, you can't. Don't tell me about it. Just ignore it. Okay, so. All right. So we're gonna start off talking about the books that I read in April. Starting off strong, we're starting with Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I absolutely loved this book. Taylor Jenkins Reid is just becoming one of my favorite authors. Ever since I read Malibu Rising, that grabbed me, and I just find her literary fiction to be unique and very intimate and engaging. This book was 100% a love letter to the art form of tennis. I've grown up watching tennis here and there. I wouldn't say I know a whole lot about the game and the rules and the strategy. But for as little as I know about tennis, she explained it so incredibly well. I was following everything and it was so bingeable. I felt like I was watching it. Honestly, I felt like I was watching a match. This book grabbed me. I truly gave this a 5-star. Like, this was a 5-star read for me, 100%. Ever since reading Malibu Rising, where Carrie Soto's name popped up, I was like, okay, I have that book, I gotta read that book. And Carrie Soto is not a particularly good person. In Malibu Rising, she's actually very unlikable, but having the context of her backstory really helped understand why she is the way she is, because of the way that she was raised, because of her relationship with her father, her perfectionism, and her dedication to being the best she could possibly be to anyone else's expense. As unlikable of a person as Carrie Soto is, that character was so well fleshed out because I was able to stomach her. I didn't hate her the whole way through. I understood that she was morally gray, but I also understood why she was morally gray. And that made it so interesting to read a character that would make choices that are so different from the choices I feel I would make for myself, but to still not be irritated. So beyond the actual aspect of tennis, this book really touched on the complex relationship between father and daughter. Also an important theme of finding the balance between ambition and contentment, which is just throughout this entire book and something that Carrie Soto really struggled with, and I think a lot of people really struggle with. And so that was a theme that I really enjoyed reading about. And then it also has themes of grief in it and dealing with grief. I actually sobbed reading this book. There's only been so many books that have brought me to the point of actual tears, but on the flight where I finished this book, yes, in public on a flight, I was sobbing. Like, I was just like, so I'll insert pictures because I took pictures for proof. So I loved this book. I really, really did. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. If Atmosphere is better than this, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have Atmosphere, but now I really want to read it. So yes, we're starting off strong. Carrie Soto is back, 5-star read, highly recommend. What's funny is in my notes I have it as a 4.75, and I get that because if I were to compare it to like the Book of Longings or Song of Achilles, it isn't at that like spiritual level that I really like when I say a book is 5 stars. But if I'm honest, those books are actually 6 stars. Like those books, they transcend. This would be like a more normal 5-star read, but I do have it in my notes as 4.75. You get what I mean. The next book that I read in April was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I really liked this. This one I did a mixture of the physical book and the audiobook, which I really enjoyed hearing. The accents were super fun. This was a really fun read. I have been dying to read this book and to start the series because I've only heard incredible things about it. My husband really liked this book and he said that, oh, I can't remember now if it's the second one. He said the fourth one is really good. And I think the second one as well. So I'm excited to keep reading. There are some books where like the audiobook is a completely different way of experiencing it because of the performance. And this is one of those where like the audiobook I found after hearing the performances, when I went back to reading the physical book, that voice was still in my head and I had a completely different experience when I continued reading in a good way. The themes of this book are very heavy, but it was done in a very like high stakes but still epic fun way. This book deals a lot with oppression, prejudice, and the flaws of political systems, what people will do for power, and the fine line between vengeance and justice, which is a very cool theme to explore. So much happens in this book. This book covers years and years of Darrow's life, and so you really get to see his arc develop because he grows so much as a person in those years. If you don't know what this book is about, basically in this society, the different colors are different classes in society. So there's reds, there's golds, obsidians, there's all kinds. And so reds are kind of the lower class and they're minors, and essentially Red Rising is all about Red's rising. And I really do like that he touched on colors because it's a very unique yet literal way to talk about racism and prejudice. So I thought that was a really smart play on that. I can't believe after reading this how much Pierce Brown had to fight to publish this book. I'm writing a book, so I know a lot about like what it takes to get a book traditionally published, and it's really hard. But like, it's amazing how many really, really good books struggle. He queried hundreds of agents from what I was able to find online, maybe 800, I don't remember the exact number, but nobody was biting. He had to send out a query in his character's voice, which is usually what people say not to do to get anyone's attention, and before someone finally gave him the opportunity, signed him on to start submitting to publishers. So like, it's crazy to me as someone who's gonna be querying that books this good struggle. Because I'm like, I hope my book doesn't struggle. Anyway, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. I really liked Red Rising. I will continue reading the series for sure, and I rated this a 4.25 stars. The last book that I read in April is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, which I didn't know that this author is actually 2 people. So that's kind of cool, fun fact. I had no idea. So this book is a contemporary romance, which if you have watched my prior videos, you know that I have been struggling with contemporary romances. They just have not been going over well for me for whatever reason. I have found them to be just lacking a certain depth that I'm craving. This book proved that I'm not though completely writing off the entire genre, which I'm happy about. It was a really fun read. The premise of this book is basically there's a wedding that happens in the beginning, literally first page, I'm not spoiling anything. And everybody at this wedding gets sick, including the bride and the groom, from food poisoning. The only 2 people that don't get sick are like basically arch enemies. And so the sister, it's a guy and a girl, the sister of the bride. And so basically they get convinced to take the honeymoon trip that the bride and the groom cannot go on. So that makes it a forced proximity, enemies to lovers sort of read, which I love forced proximity. That is one trope where I eat it up. I do like the tension of that. So I enjoyed that. This did have a really nice found family aspect to it. There were just a couple of moments that are just like irritating or handled in a way that's like, ugh, I wouldn't I wouldn't go about it that way. That's a little bit of a questionable way to do that, but I get it with these like fun contemporary romances. That's kind of like how you bring tension to the table and spice things up. I think that sometimes like misunderstandings or not explaining certain things in a way, it just feels unnecessary, and that sometimes is hard to get over. But overall, I enjoyed this read. It was very lighthearted, and the trip is in Hawaii, so that was a fun setting to be in. I did also do the mixture of physical and audiobook for this one, and I rated it a 3.25 stars. Not too bad. Okay, so now we're gonna get into my May reads. The first book that I read in May is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. Ocean Vuong has a background in poetry, which you can 100% tell. What's interesting is this book is the first time I felt there was actually a distinction between purple prose and lyrical prose. So I found his prose to be on the purple side of things, but not very lyrical. A little bit more blunt and literal, which is such an interesting, I just kind of always use them interchangeably, but something about this book, there was a difference. He speaks in a lot of beautiful like metaphors, but the word choice isn't very whimsical. It's just very like blunt. So this story follows the character named Little Dog's life as he grows up in America in an immigrant family from Vietnam. And it's written in the style of a letter to his illiterate mother, which is a super interesting thing to explore because you can say anything you want to say when you know someone can't read it. This is a contemporary fiction book / memoir, I'm pretty sure. Aspects of this book felt like it was heavily inspired by his real life. I hope I'm not mistaken on that, but that was the vibe I got. This book is written very interestingly. As you can see, it's not like the longest read, and it's kind of written in vignettes of portions of his life. And the themes in this book are incredibly heavy, which I don't think will be a surprise to you because the cover is black and white, and usually those are heavy books. Some of the themes included in this book are grief, life as an immigrant, as an Asian American, sexual identity, and drug abuse. So make sure you look into trigger warnings before you pick this one up. In terms of the writing, I found a lot of this book to have very poignant paragraphs where universal experiences were said in such a unique way in terms of the phrasing, and just sort of hit the nail on the head of like, oh, I've never found words for that, but that is perfectly said. And then other times, when the prose got very purpley, I found it hard to grasp the intent. At times, the writing felt a little elusive, and maybe that's the intention with his style of writing, where he kind of, you take from it what you get from it, and that might look different depending on the person, but sometimes I found myself having to reread and try to figure out what he wanted me to understand, which sometimes that makes it a little bit harder for me to connect with the writing. So there was a little bit of that dichotomy in there, but overall, this is such an impressive novel, let alone debut. Like, I can't believe this is a debut. Granted, he obviously has a lot of experience in writing, but this is the debut novel, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. The next book that I read in May is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I had such high hopes for this book, like problematically high hopes. Everybody talked about it in a way that I expected to have the Book of Longings experience, my Circe experience, my Song of Achilles experience. This book blends historical fiction, magical realism, and contemporary romance really well. That's like a super interesting mixture to me. It follows the main character, Addie LaRue, who can never die, but the trade-off is nobody she interacts with can ever remember her. So because of that, she goes through hundreds and hundreds of years of life and experiences and travel, not having made any deep bonds until that kind of changes. But the problem I had with this book was that curse that she has kind of made all of her experiences for me incredibly predictable, and it started to feel a little repetitive to me because things could only end one way. So I felt like I was having the same Groundhog Day experience with her a lot of the book, which I didn't love. I had a little bit of a hard time getting fully invested in, I'm gonna say, part of the romance, because the romance situation is a little bit complex in this book. And then the ending didn't 100% satisfy me. So for those reasons, it wasn't a 5-star read for me. This was a really good book though. I gave it 4 stars because the vibes were just so there. Like, and I love the blend of genres. Those are all my favorite genres. So I would still highly recommend reading this book. It's really unique. It just fell a little bit short of that 5-star read. Finally, the last book I read in May is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I love Rebecca Ross's writing style. I find her fantasy to feel very mythological, and she always does cozy fantasy. Like, it has epic vibes to it in terms of what's going on, but the found family and the warmth leads regardless of the chaos going on around. I found that in both A River Enchanted and Divine Rivals. So if you like cozy fantasy with higher stakes, I think you will love Rebecca Ross. This book followed Iris Winnow, who is a writer at a Gazette and basically is in competition with another writer, and her brother goes off to fight a war, so she starts writing these letters to him. But this typewriter that she has, which this brings in some magical realism vibes, which I love, magically sends the letters to somebody else. And so that follows us building the connection between her and this person that she ends up writing these letters to instead of her brother. I really enjoyed it. I found it to be more deep than I thought it would be because there's a lot of themes of grief and war that I wasn't expecting. I would definitely read the next one. I did give this one a 4 stars, only because when the romance started to come together, I felt like we progressed a little bit quickly for me, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. But other than that, I really enjoyed Divine Rivals. So I had a pretty good 2 months of reading. For the last portion of my wrap-ups, I do like to talk about my book and the book that I'm currently writing so that I can share my progress with you guys. With the move and the puppy and everything, it has been hard to write. It has been super hard, but now that things are starting to settle in a little bit more, I have my schedule going again. Let me show you. So we have a plan, you guys, for the month. I am hoping that for this month, the month of June, I can finish Act 2. That's my hope. Right now, I have like 2 more chapters to edit in Act 2A, and then I'll have Act 2B to complete. So things are moving along, but honestly, in April and May, not so much. It's picking up now in June. So I'm really grateful that I'm finding my rhythm again, because the only way a book gets written is if you write it. So I'm trying to hurry along. I thought that I was gonna be sending my beta readers draft 2. I didn't expect it to still need to be like this messy. So I'm probably gonna be sending my beta readers draft 3, but I'm hoping draft 3 moves faster than draft 2 is moving, because I won't be writing anything new. It'll be making my writing efficient, cutting down my word count, and rephrasing things to tighten the book. And then that's what I will need notes on. So I'm on track by the end of the year to finish draft 2, which is what's important. And I'll keep you updated. I want to do more writing vlogs. I have one already filmed that I have to edit, but I'm planning on filming more. Hopefully it works out. That is it. That is my last 2 months of reading and writing update. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I am going to film my TBR now. I'm so excited to see what I'm going to be reading for the month of June. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next video.